I got a really great video here for you regarding the book of Enoch and the dream that Enoch had regarding Noah and the flood. And he uses animals as names for different types of people. And it's very fascinating when you look at this dream, and he wrote it down. And I'm going to go through a portion of this dream. I'm going to pick it up where these four heavenly beings come and they approach Noah. And here we go. It says here, this is where it says, and I saw how they began to gore each other and devour each other, and the earth began to cry aloud. So there you go. Noah, the days of Noah, the earth was really corrupt. And it says here, and I raised my eyes right here, and I raised my eyes again to heaven. I saw in a vision, and behold, there came forth four heavenly beings who were like white men. Now look at this, like white men. And right here in the other vision here, they said they were in the likeness of white men. So they were in the likeness of white men. As a matter of fact, Noah, he was a white man. He was the first white man of his kind. And the book of Enoch describes him when he was born. He was white. And Lamech didn't know that that was his son, but he went to Methuselah and they said, yes, this is indeed your son. He was sprung from you. But he had white skin and white hair and blue eyes, So here, but they said that Noah looked like the sons of God. And in this chapter, it's telling you, yes, they were. Look, these ones that were heavenly beings they had the appearance of white men. So when they came out here, and it says here that they took Enoch and those three that had last come forth, grasped me by the hand and took me up away from the generations of the earth and raised me up in a lofty place and showed me. So now he's being shown a tower raised high above the earth, and all the hills were lower. And one said unto me, remain here until thou seest everything that befalls those elephants, camels, asses, and the stars and oxen, and all of them. So these are all the different types of men that were that came from Noah and his three sons. So now these elephants, camels, and asses. These were there too before. Elephants were the people that were around about, but you'll see the names of the animals that come from Noah's sons. These are the ones that existed before the flood. So here it says here, and it says here that, and I saw one of those four who had come forth first, and he seized that first star which had fallen from the heaven, which is the first watcher. It talks about the watcher, Sanjaza. This is the watcher Sanjaza, and bound it hand and foot and cast into the abyss. So Sanjaza gets cast into the abyss in a narrow, deep, horrible, dark place. But it says here, and one of them drew a sword, right here, drew a sword and gave it to those elephants and camels and asses. So in the book of Enoch, this is where they showed them how to make weapons of war, steel and swords and breastplates of iron. They had everything, and they're telling you that this is what they were doing. They were showing man how to make these things. And what happened, they began to smite each other, and the whole earth quaked right here because of them. So this is now everyone's killing each other here. So and this was all because of them, that they showed them how to kill each other. How they showed men this weapons of war. And next they took, when they gathered together these ones that did this deed, who their great stars, who privy members were like that of horses, but horses are signifies a higher being, like an angelic being. So these were these people, these watchers that were supposed to watch over man, which were still men, but they were higher men, and now they got in trouble for doing what they did. So here we go, and one of the four went to the white bull, instructed him in secret, without him being terrified, and that's now he's going to approach Noah. And he was born a bull and became a man, and built for himself a great vessel, and dwelt thereon. And three bulls dwelt with him in that vessel, and they were covered in. So there they go. They're on Noah's Ark, and they're covered in. And they have water comes in, and it says here they flowed. When the water came in here, 7 torrents of water thereon. Those torrents flowed with much water into an enclosure. Look at this. So the vessel that they're in, water flowed. This version says water flowed into an enclosure, but this one here, look at this. It says water which poured forth into a certain village, much water. Now that doesn't sound like the whole earth. Okay, it says certain village. And this is an enclosure. So was it a isolated flood, or was it the whole earth? According to the book of Enoch, you see the two. One says it was an enclosure. One says it was a certain village. There's another one that would call it a yard here. They call it a yard. So, and they saw the enclosure until the surface was covered with water, or the village was not seen. See, and the soil was all covered. And what happens here is all the oxen, elephants, and camels and asses sank to the bottom with all the animals. So these are genres of people. These are different types of men, and they got killed, just like the Bible says. They were all killed. So here, but that white bull right here, that white bull which had become a man out of that vessel, which is Noah. Now he calls him a white bull. Very interesting. Those were white men. Now here we go. The white bull, which is Noah, and the three bulls with him, which are his sons. One of those was white like that bull. Look at this. And one of them was red as blood, so there was a red man, and one was black. Look at that. So here we go. Now we know this is where our different races come from, right here. This is all our different races. Noah himself was white. But there was a black son, red son, and one that was white like Noah. And they began to bring forth beasts of the field, because in the Bible it says beasts of the field. Okay, beasts of the field were men. These are men. This dream is about, they're using animals, but they're speaking about men and the different types of men that came from these three different colors of man, and there arose different genres, and there's lions, tigers, wolves. There's wolves, dogs, hyenas, wild boars, which are asses, foxes, squirrels, swine. All these falcons, even birds of the air, these are considered all the different people. And among them was born, look at this, among them was born a white bull. Okay, so now they're all, out of all these people, now a white bull is born. And they begin to bite one another. But that white bull which is born amongst them begat a wild ass, okay, which is Ishmael. So the white bull we're speaking of is Abraham. So Abraham, this is a white bull. Okay, so they want to tell you that Abraham was white like Noah, like from his predecessor Noah. So after these were breeding amongst each other, a white bull emerges, and he has 2 children. He has one that from a wild ass, which from the concubine, which the wild ass is Ishmael, and a white bull. Okay, right here, a white bull, and Isaac. Okay, and the wild ass is multiplied, which is Ishmael's seed is multiplied, just like the Bible says. But But that bull which was born from him begat a black wild boar and a white sheep. Okay, so now you have a wild black boar and a white sheep. And now, who you got to know who this is um, you when you look at this now, who once the wild asses are multiplying, which is Ishmael's seed, but Isaac he bore two. He bore a black wild boar, which is Esau. Look at this, and a white sheep, which is what's to be Jacob. Okay, and the former begot many boars. So Esau begot many boars, but the sheep begot right here. But that sheep begot 12 sheep. So the white sheep, which is Jacob, and they use colors here because they want you to know the colors. They want you to know the color. And believe it or not, the book of Enoch was part of the Bible. It still is part of the Ethiopian Bible. So this book is relevant. They took the book of Enoch out. So here we go. That sheep begot 12 sheep, and that's the 12 tribes of Israel. So the black boar right there is Esau, and this is Jacob, and here's his 12 sheep. And when those 12 sheep had grown, they gave up one of them to the asses, just like the story. And those asses gave up that sheep to the wolves. Now, if you have to understand, you have to know how to read this book. So the wolves are Egyptians, okay? Now, Joseph, you know how the 12, the story of the 12 tribes of Israel. They left their brother, and they gave him up to the Arabs, and the Arabs took him as a slave, and they brought him to Egypt, and they gave him to the wolves, which the wolves are the Egyptians. And that sheep, look at right here, and that sheep grew amongst the wolves. So that sheep is growing. He's in Egypt, growing amongst the wolves, which is the Egyptians. You see that? So his 12, he has he's there, and the other 11 are not there, but that one son is there. And the Lord brought the 11 sheep to live with it and pasture among the wolves. So here comes the rest of Benjamin, all the other guys are coming in to see Joseph, because the whole story about how he went to Egypt, but the whole family went over there, and they multiplied right here, and they multiplied and became many flocks of sheep. So they're in Egypt becoming many flocks of sheep. And the wolves began to fear them. Look at this. So the Egyptians began to fear Israel, that's there, which were the sheep. And they oppressed them until they destroyed their little ones, and they cast their young into a river of much water. But those sheep began to cry aloud on account of their little ones right here, to complain unto their Lord. Okay, now they got this Lord. Now they're complaining unto their Lord. Okay, now they have a Lord. They're complaining to their Lord. This is the Lord that, now people say that, well, that's God of all. No, that's what is their God. Their God. Okay, the Lord is their God. When you look at Israel and the God of Israel, that is their God. Okay, it has nothing to do with any other nations. And then people, I know they want to say that that's, he was the creator, but I have other videos that show that, this Lord they're referring to, which is Yahweh, is not the creator. Okay, so and a sheep which have been saved from the wolves fled and escaped to the wild asses. So that sheep that has been saved from the wolves and fled to and escaped to the wild asses. Well, you know the story about Moses and how he went into the wild. He escaped. Now he's back with the wild asses. But now they're telling you about the story of Moses here. See this? This is Moses. And I saw the sheep how they lamented and cried and besought their Lord with all their might, until that Lord of the sheep, that particular Lord of the sheep, descended at the voice of the sheep from a lofty abode and came to them and pastured with them. Look at that. And he called that sheep and he called that one particular sheep that escaped the wolves, which is the Egyptians, and spake with it concerning the wolves, that it should admonish them and not touch the sheep. So, and the sheep went to the wolves according to the word of the Lord, and another sheep met it and went with it, and the two went and entered together into the assembly of those wolves, and spake with them and admonished them not to touch the sheep from henceforth. Here's Moses, Aaron, there they are. And this is the story of that was a dream that Enoch wrote down, but it's a very great dream. And if you know how to decipher this dream, it's remarkable, man. I'll tell you, this dream is remarkable. I'm gonna continue on with this dream, but this is just one particular portion of the dream that regarding Noah. And and just real quick, when you look at that story, I was telling you that how he was born, and it says right here, and I have begotten this is in chapter 106. I have begotten a strange son, diverse from unlike man, and resembled the sons of God of heaven. So he was unlike man. So this one that was had hair white as wool. Look at this. His eyes were beautiful, and his body was white. His body was white as snow. See, look at this. His body was white as snow. And they were scared. Lamech said, hey, man, I don't know this guy. Look, it says here, Lamech was afraid of him. Okay. But Methuselah, they went and they said, no, this is your son. And there's a new thing that's going to be done on the earth. The white man is what is the new thing. And he is, and his nature, look at this, his nature is not like man's nature. So Noah's nature even was not like the nature. He had a different kind of nature. He had less melanin in his skin. He had what's called not albinoism. People say, oh, he was albino. No, he had Isabellianism, okay, which has blue eyes, and you have hair like white like wool. The color of wool is a yellowy color. See, when you got white wool, back then they didn't have bleached wool. White wool was a yellowy color. And his body was whiter than snow. See, so now you're looking at a white man here. So, and he would look like the sons of God. So, but getting back to that dream that he had, I'm going to make more videos about that dream, and I'm going to walk through that dream and translate that dream to you, so you can see what this dream in the book of Enoch was said. So thanks for watching. If you like, subscribe. I'm going to make more videos. Take care.